This was the brilliance of this Ralph Northam Democrat strategy. First of all, who tipped off the press about this photograph? I don't think they just coincidentally discovered this photograph a day after Ralph Northam exposed the entire Democrats' abortion position, which is to kill babies. After they're born, as they're being born, right before they're born, he exposed abortion for what it really is, which is infanticide, the killing of babies. A day later, his career is over because of a photograph that someone obviously had for a long time, and they were sitting on it, sitting on ammo, just waiting to use it. So who tipped off the press? According to reports now, it was a concerned citizen, not a political opponent. And this is from Big League Politics, which published this. Quote, a concerned citizen, not a political opponent, came to us and pointed this out. I think there's a lot there. How it's being reported now is that it was a medical school classmate who was outraged by the infanticide comments. But how was the medical school classmate outraged? Because he's pro-life or because he's a Democrat? I don't know. The language here, a concerned citizen, not a political opponent, makes me think maybe this wasn't a political opponent. Maybe this was a Democrat. Maybe this tip came from a Democrat who wanted to get abortion and post-birth abortion and infanticide out of the headlines because it looks really, really bad for Democrats. We talked about this on the show last time on Thursday. For so long, the left has had us argue pro-life at the moment of conception, where the majority of Americans support legal abortion. 3 days after conception, 2 weeks after conception, whatever. But the logical conclusion of that is at the day of birth, or the day after birth, or the day before birth. And now, because of guys like Ralph Northam and Andrew Cuomo and other Democrats, we're arguing about abortion at its logical conclusion, which is the baby, which is infanticide. And today, other than on this show, other than on maybe a couple other conservative-leaning shows, people aren't going to be talking about Ralph Northam and infanticide. They're going to be talking about some stupid photo 35 years ago that I truly care nothing about, that is truly not relevant to our lives, to our public policy, to racial relations, to abortion. Just remember, this 3-4 days ago, this is what we were talking about from Ralph Northam.
When we talk about third trimester abortions, these are done with the consent of obviously the mother, with the consent of the physicians, more than one physician, by the way. And it's done in cases where there may be severe deformities, there may be a fetus that's non-viable. So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother. So I think this was really blown out of proportion.
So really blown out of proportion. Well, something was blown out of proportion here, but it wasn't the infanticide comments. I guess it's now been blown out of proportion because of this new thing. I'll say it here. I'm probably going to be called a racist for saying this. I think that it is worse to slaughter babies after they've been born than to wear blackface. I know. I'm going to be kicked off Twitter. I'm going to be kicked off Facebook. You're not allowed to say that. My show is going to be canceled. I think actually a lot of reasonable people would agree. It is worse to kill infants after they've been born in 2019 than it is to have worn blackface in 1984. That's what I think. Call me crazy. Call me crazy. But of course, everybody thinks that. And the leak strategy worked. We're now talking about blackface, which everybody can condemn. Democrats can go out and condemn. Democrat politicians, presidential candidates can go and condemn him, call for him to resign, rather than talking about infants who have been born alive who are now being killed, which Democrats can't condemn. The Democrat presidential candidates who have announced and who haven't announced have been very quiet about these abortion bills in New York and possibly in Rhode Island and in Virginia, the ones that allow you to kill a baby as it's being born, or I guess even after it's been born. They can't talk about that because if they come out and say that's too far, then they create a losing issue for Democrats. They're going to lose the primaries. And the question is obviously then going to be, well, if it's too late to kill a baby on the day it's being born or the day after it's been born, what about the day before it's been born?